Hello and welcome again to Christine's Creativity Cabinet. Well, this is a video that I know that some of you have been waiting a long time for. And maybe some of you haven't even seen yet because, I put in my little intro that I do squishy makeovers, but I actually have not done a squishy makeover in a really long time. Today's video, I am doing finally another squishy makeover, the first in a long time. I got the idea for this from a Mariah Elizabeth video where she talked about something called Squishy Magic. Squishy Magic is an app that allows you to kind of color virtual squishies and make them over, and then they actually squish, which is really kind of cool. But it's all virtual. And no, this is not sponsored, not affiliated. I'm like way too teeny tiny of a channel for anybody to be interested. But I got the app and I thought it was really interesting, and I managed to look at what the squishies were available for you to color, and noticed that some of them were similar to squishies that I had gotten some time ago at Dollar Tree that I had for a long time been intending to make over and hadn't done so. So I decided that Squishy Magic would be a good way to I could pick out a squishy that's similar to one of those squishies, and I could color it and do whatever I wanted to it with it. And because it's virtual, I can change anything that I want to change. And then once I have it down the way I want it to be, then I could use that as a kind of a model to actually remake a real squishy. So that's what I did. This first one is a cake slice. So I'm going to let you see here. This is the original cake slice that I bought from Dollar Tree. And I found that on Squishy Magic they had a kind of a similar looking cake slice. And so I colored that cake slice, and here it is. This is how I made it look. And now I'm going to show you how I was able to take the real squishy and make it look like the squishy in Squishy Magic. So let's get to making. I started by sanding the squishy with my Dollar Tree standing sponge. That's something that Mariah Elizabeth usually does, and it helps the paint to stick better to the squishy. And then I did an experiment where I decided to see if spray painting the squishy white just as a base coat would help the colors to pop. So that's what I did here. You see the can of spray paint there that I used, and so we'll see how that turns out. So here's the spray painted squishy. It didn't really coat it very well, but it really didn't matter all that much because I decided that this was just going to be a base coat and it was going to be completely covered with the Puffy paint. So here I'm taking some white Puffy paint and a little bit of green and a little bit of blue, mixing them together to make a nice mint green for the top of my cake slice. And you see me here putting the first coat on there. I ended up doing 2 coats to give it a good coverage. So after the 2 coats that I did of the mint green paint was completely dry, I went in with my brown Puffy paint and I created a kind of a first layer of chocolate all the way around. You see that I made a little mistake there, but I just used some baby wipes to correct it. And once that was dry, then I went in and made the bottom chocolate layer. I wanted to put some multicolored sprinkles on my squishy. So the way that I made those was I just took these multicolored rubber bands that I got from Dollar Tree and just cut them with scissors into tiny, tiny little pieces. Then I went in with white Puffy paint and I created the kind of white whipped cream layer between the 2 chocolate layers. And while the paint was still wet, I went ahead and applied a bunch of my little sprinkles to it. And I think that turned out really well. It made my cake slice very Mariah Elizabeth-like. Then once that was dry, I went in and added white puffy paint to the kind of whipped cream blob that's on the top of the cake slice. And of course that had to have sprinkles on it too. Then I took some red puffy paint and used that to paint the two little berry slices that were on top of the cake to make them look like little strawberries. And then, when that was completely dry, I used my little fine point paint marker to draw in the little seeds. So once again, here's the cake slice before, and here's the cake slice that I did in Squishy Magic. And here is my finished real squishy, made over to look like the squishy that I did in Squishy Magic. I actually think it turned out pretty good. I did have a little trouble with some of the whipped cream dripping kind of down to the bottom, but I don't really think that looks too bad. And here I am giving it the squish test. The only little problem that I had was that some of the little sprinkles came off that weren't as well attached as they might have been. If I wanted to fix that, I probably could have just put like a layer of Mod Podge or something like that on there to kind of seal them down.